Good evening, everybody. I'm going to call to order the November 3rd, 2021 evening meeting of the Carroll County Planning and Zoning Commission. Can we please establish a quorum?
Ms. Cheatwood?
Here.
Mr. Wathers?
Here.
Mr. Kennelly?
Here.
Ms. Kirkner? Mr. Lester?
Here.
Mr. Hawk?
Here.
Mr. Gosnell? Commissioner Want?
Here.
Secretary Eisenberg?
Here.
Ms. Chair, please let the record reflect that 6 members are present and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Please stand for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we do have a revised agenda. I take it there's no other changes?
No, there are no other changes, just the revision of moving the closed session from the beginning of the meeting now to the end of the meeting, just for logistic reasons.
This is Jeff. I move approval of the agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to our review and approval of the minutes from September 21st, excuse me, and September 29th. Any changes? Does it look so?
I move that we approve the minutes as submitted.
This is Jeff. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving along to item number 6, our administrative report, Secretary Eisenberg.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening virtually. We really appreciate it. Before I get started with my administrative matters, we didn't have it on the agenda, but I just wanted to reach out and see, I want to yield my time to if any planning commission or Commissioner Wance has any statements that they want to say at the beginning of this evening's meeting. Yep. Okay. All right. So with that then, the first thing I want to talk about is the public hearing. If I could just share my screen, I want to make you all aware of the public hearing that's coming up for the commercial, for the comprehensive rezoning of the residential text, and show you all what's on our website. So Control Room, can I just do a share screen?
Hey, Linda, while they're doing that, that does remind me, I want to personally thank Pete and Janice for being at the first work session last week. We had a really, really good work session. We had to shut Pete Lester down because he talked until like 9 o'clock at night, but whatever. That's beside the point. That's, you know. Anyway, no, we had a great, they had some great insight into all the work that you all did leading up to giving this to us. So we've got a lot of work on our table now to be able to do this, but they reflected very well. Pete and Janice reflected very well all of the work that all of you did. So thank you so much. It's really helping us out as we move through this. So thank you, Linda. Forgot to say that. So thanks.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. And I was going to actually call on Pete and Janice too as I go through this to kind of give a little bit of the perspective of what they talked about with the commissioners. So anyway, before I go there though, the Board of County Commissioners is hosting several work sessions. Their first work session, as Commissioner Want said, was last Thursday, October 28th from 1 to 3. At this particular work session, Planning Commission members were invited to attend, and Janice and Pete graciously volunteered to come for the 2-hour session and gave their perspective on Planning Commission's thoughts and the process for how decisions were made with regard to the residential districts. And so actually with that, if Pete wants to say what he said a little bit, just give Planning Commission a little bit of background on how you represented the Planning Commission during this, as well as Janice, I think that would just be good for members to hear who weren't able to watch it.
Well, I guess to keep it brief, the way it was done, I thought was very orderly in terms of they basically took the grid, the matrix that we had that started out, I think, with our discussion concerning kennels and outdoor storage units, the residential text specifically concerning retirement villages and the clustering as well. And so they went through that, and I thought, Janice and I both, we tried to summarize some of the conflicts we had as a commission. Not conflicts is a strong word, but I guess the discussions that we had and some of the thought processes behind it. I mean, the dog kennel was one that we actually talked a great deal about, and the problem with having it in the code but not having any teeth to enforce it in terms of our zoning folks at the county. And so it was an interesting conversation, and that I the body language in the room, I enjoyed kind of watching the commissioners absorb it and then reflect back some of what Janice and I were saying. So that on at a 30,000 foot level, I thought it was a very orderly exchange. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to go in and add some color to the decisions that we made. I appreciate y'all letting me do that.
Janice, did you have anything that you wanted to add with that?
Not a whole lot. I think Pete said it pretty succinctly, but it was interesting. I, of course, talked about the many different conversations that we all had as a planning commission. And it was taken well by commissioners, I think. And Pete is right. The dogs were definitely quite a large discussion, that and the retirement villages. But I think overall, they listened to how we came with our decisions and took that and absorbed it, and hopefully will all come out better for the whole thing. So there you go.
Thank you, Janice, and also thank you to Janice too for attending the virtual Maryland Planning Commissioners Association conference. She actually threw in some of the things that she had learned from that conference into the discussion. So we really appreciate you attending that as well. Sorry it wasn't in person, but I think they did a nice job putting together a virtual conference this year. So thank you again for doing that as well.
Well, thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Absolutely. So then with that, so that was wrapping up October 28th. We actually have 2 more meetings scheduled before the public hearing. As you can see on our carrollrezoning.org webpage, we have November 4th and November 9th. And the idea is we're going to get through the suggested recommended changes to the residential districts with the Board of County Commissioners. They will have a public hearing on the 18th. And as you can see from the website, there are 2 public hearing times. An afternoon from 1 to about 3 p.m. And that will actually be an in-person public hearing. And it will be in 003 of the county office, which is the Reagan room where you all typically meet, just to be able to give us some more room to social distance appropriately. Given those capacity limits, about 25 people can be in the room any given time. So if we have more than 15 or so members of the public by the time you include commissioners and staff, we'll have to rotate people in and out. So we'll see how many attend for that. And then an evening virtual meeting. And we thought virtual was good for 2 reasons. And in the evening was to have an additional meeting, people that work that can't make it up to the county office building, and those that may not feel comfortable being in person, but still want to have their voice heard more than just a letter. We decided to do a hybrid virtual. So the commissioners and staff will be in the county offices, and we will be doing their version from here, but we'll be taking comments virtually for this. And so we have a sign up for people that want to make public comments, so we can call them like we typically do when we've done some of the public outreach through a planning commission. You know, you'll sign up for what you want to speak to, and I'll have your name and information. So only if you sign up will I call you for the virtual meeting. Just keeps it orderly and open depending how many people call in at that time. And then also they can submit public comment here using a click button. And what's really nice is it has your information, address, and then so we can sort the topics, because there's 2 topics that are part of the public hearing: the text changes that are being considered, and the 2 properties with the change requests that are comprehensive. So from the comment, you can do a pull down, seeing whether it's text or map, and then put your comment in. And that'll just help us keep straight the various comments and how they come in, and we can see what's going to what different issue within the public context of the public hearing. And again, everything as far as the summary of changes, the residential district, chapter 155 and 158, and the comments are all on this webpage, as well as if you go to the comprehensive rezoning mapping portion, you can just click here. When you do that, a summary of the Planning Commission recommendations to the board table is at the top. There's a map of the properties that are being requested. There are staff reports, all of the comments we have received through August 20th. And at the bottom are the official zoning maps that would be voted on after the public hearing when the time comes for changes or no changes. As well as, if you recall, the commissioners chose to defer the Beatty properties request to go from I-1 to C2 at the time, because they wanted the entire property to come in with the residential component as well. So this map, it's actually on 2 maps, reflect the changes for the Beatty property, and then the 3rd map is Sable only. So are there any questions with the public hearing notification, or where the commissioners are in their process? I just wanted to make you aware where we're headed with things. Okay, great. Well, then that's all I have for my administrative report this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With that, we'll move on to item number 8, which is the Transportation Master Plan. The update for survey.
What item? 7 you skipped over? Administrative rules.
Oh, sorry. Item 7, administrative rules and proposed 2022 meeting dates.
Okay. So as we do every November, according to our policies and our administrative rules of procedure and operation for the Planning Commission, November is the month during our first regularly scheduled meeting, which would not be a work session. It would be our business meeting, that we elect a chair and vice chair and a secretary from its membership, as well as review the rules in front of you to make any changes that you feel are necessary to continue to do Planning Commission business efficiently. And we've made changes over the years as issues come up. Sometimes, we need clarification on these rules. I did review them, and the one suggested change I would make to our rules moving forward is with regard to clarification on item 3.6, the inclement weather policy. That now that we're in a virtual world, I think maybe clarifying language saying that even though we're in a virtual world, we can probably do a meeting virtually if county offices are closed. I would suggest that we don't, just for consistency's sake, that we just add language that says, in the event that Carroll County Public Schools are closed, any scheduled business meetings, whether in person or virtual, would be canceled. And then on the case-by-case basis, too, that if the county office building is closed, even if we had a virtual meeting scheduled, meetings would be canceled. Because we don't have a way to stream from the county office building. There may be other logistics if there's a storm happening. That's bad anyway. People may not have internet access, so we may not be able to have the meeting as we've envisioned. So even though it's great that we have this virtual world opportunity, it's still not perfect. And just for consistency's sake, I would just suggest that we address virtual meetings as well clearly, so there's no questions about that.
You know, Linda, I think that's great. And I would just like to suggest, and this is mainly just coming from, you know, an experience we had a few months ago or a few weeks back where we had changed from an in-person meeting to a virtual meeting, and there was some confusion from some people who wanted to attend. You know, inclement weather, I think this makes total sense. I think there ought to be something in here that basically says if we're going to change from an in-person meeting because of unforeseen circumstances, that will give a certain amount of notice, or we'll push the meeting back a week or something. There ought to be some sort of accommodation to give the public a chance to, you know, to be made aware of the change. Does that make sense to anyone else, or am I the only one who thought that was kind of, because it puts you in a real bind, Linda, because how do you get the word out? I mean, you did everything you were supposed to do, but it wasn't enough, you know? I mean, because people, you know, they were on their way almost, you know? And so I don't think it's a good look for us to have a hearing. Oh yeah, well, we changed it at the last minute. There ought to be a process for that. And I don't have a good solution to it. I'm just raising it as is anybody else concerned about it? If not, I'll be quiet.
You know, I think, this is Jeff. I think that I don't disagree with you, Pete, and I know we inconvenienced some members of the public. It was unusual because it was an extraordinary circumstance. I think we had seen some COVID numbers go up dramatically in a short period of time right before this, and so there was sort of a public health and safety issue that might have instigated that, but it's possible we could face that situation again. So I don't know if we face that situation again. I guess the next question is what's a reasonable solution for that? Because maybe we should just cancel. Is it better that we cancel the meeting?
I honestly don't know, and that's where my quandary is that it, you know, because you're asking the exact question I was asking myself. I mean, should we have just canceled it rather than hack people off? Because we don't want people thinking we're moving it around to you know, hide something, because that's the exact opposite of this. And then two, technology makes it awful convenient for us to, hey, we can still do this. Well,
right.
Yeah, we can, but we're not doing it in the manner in which we communicated beforehand. I don't know what level of disclosure are we held to? I mean, what kind of notice are we supposed to give? Because again, Linda did everything she could. I mean, it's not on her. It's not really on the public. It's a question of, you know, the check's in the mail, you know, it got crossed. I don't know. I don't have a good solution, Jeff.
Should we make a disclosure on the meeting announcement that you need to check back at X time in case something might change for the time being?
Yeah, I
Like
think
lunchtime the day of the meeting?
Yeah, we do have that. We did have some COVID language before. Please note this agenda is subject to change. And we did have some COVID wording, like, you know, just be patient, meetings could change, you know, but then when we came back in person, we had more of a steady flow. Let's think about it. I think, again, this decision doesn't have to be made tonight, but I'm taking notes about things that we can have further discussion on to change or to make clarifications. I think that's a good point, Pete. And maybe it doesn't even have to be a rule issue, but we can talk about what maybe even be memorialized in the rules. It could just be as a practice for us that we put meetings are subject to change or something on our website and our agendas.
And I think the problem with, in terms of solutions, canceling it is not exactly a solution either, because you have a lot of people inconvenienced by that. People may have taken off from work because of the meeting. They may not care exactly whether it's in person or remote, but if they've taken off from work and now all of a sudden cancel the meeting because of the change from in person to virtual, we may have done more harm than the location change. So I just think, you know, we got to balance all of those things out.
So, and I think that's a good point, Jeff, and why last meeting I made the decision not to cancel because business had to be done. There were certain plans that were in place that they didn't want to wait another month till the month of, October to hear from the September meeting. They needed to move forward. So we don't want to hold that process up either. And as you all know, everyone's got busy lives. You all have other professions other than being on professional planning commission members. So saying, well, we'll have them meeting the next day or the next week, that's problematic to even getting a quorum. So I think these are all great points of discussion, and we'll continue to work on maybe some thoughts with that as well.
Very good. To the extent the discussion happens next month when I'm not here, I like Matt's idea of, to the extent we can emphasize as reminding the public to maybe check back shortly before meetings, just in case those kinds of changes have to be made. I know that's not a perfect solution, but it's the best one I've heard so far. And I kind of like that because then it doesn't involve canceling meetings, and it does put a little bit of onus on the public, but that may be the best way to balance the different issues. My 2 cents on this.
I like it. I like it as well.
Thank you. We'll do that. And actually, so thank you for that kind of segue too as well, Mr. Walters. So since you will not be here next week, Jim, what are the rules for the election? Can members be voted into? We have 2 positions, chair and vice chair, that we're voting on. Can members that are not present be elected to that office, or how does that work?
I mean, there's nothing in the rules against a member who is not present at the meeting not being elected to any position.
I think it should be customary that if you're not here, you're elected to something.
There you go. Is that another rule change proposal? So there's nothing that would prevent a member who happens to be absent on that meeting date from being elected to a position within the commission.
Well, I will say that I'm honored to serve as vice chair. If someone else would like to accept a nomination for that, I certainly would support that. If I'm nominated, I just will say that I would be happy to serve, even though I won't be here next time.
Yeah, we can't do it yet, but I don't think you've had nearly long enough at that job, so.
Thanks, Janice.
All right, is there any other discussion for this particular topic? Okay. I have, so anyway, I just wanted to bring you those items.
Actually, sorry, next to July 6th, there's a question mark there as to whether we should cancel that meeting. That's the week of 4th of July.
Oh, that's what we also have to set our calendar. Thank you for that reminder. So Laura did send ahead that planning commission dates for 2022. And again, please look those over if you feel like there's any conflicts or you would like to, again, typically around the holidays, it gets a little challenging. So if we know ahead of time, we can either work around it to have an earlier meeting or just cancel. Especially Wednesday meetings, again, are very flexible. And obviously it's more of a work session for us to have these types of discussion. Typical business doesn't happen. So just review that. And like Laura said, pay particular attention to the July 6th meeting, since it's July 4th week.
And the December meeting, because like this year, it would normally fall on December 21st, and we moved it up to the 14th next month.
Yep.
The same thing occurs for next year too.
Thank you. And again, these will be decisions we'll vote on at the next meeting.
I won't be there, but I know I'm going to be away on July 6th of 2022. I can tell you that. So you don't have to cancel it for me, but we're going to be on vacation.
I think I'm okay with both of them. And I think that July 4th always presents a problem, so I'm good with canceling.
I know sometimes in the past, Linda, we've sort of left it on the calendar with an idea that we could see how much work is pending. And then if we have a quorum, we can still go forward. But if not, and there's still a lot of work before us, we can try to find an alternate date. That's something I know we've done.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. And again, we don't have to take anything off. We can keep them there and just, as long as we give ample notice, remove those meetings. That's fine. Especially the 2 Wednesdays in a row. If we don't have a robust work plan, why should we have 2 back-to-back meetings? That's not necessary.
Right.
Okay, well, that's all I have for this particular matter. If there's no other questions, I'm done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And never seems to amaze me that every time we think the administrative rules, procedures, and operation can have no changes, we always come up with something, I think, every year. So
Yes.
with that, we'll move on to item number 8, the Transportation Master Plan Survey 2 update.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Price, so he can go ahead and give the, I'm sorry, for Mary. Mary's going to be giving the update on this.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm here tonight to give you an update on what we are doing with the Transportation Master Plan. I should first tell you that when last we discussed this in the summer, Caitlin Harvey was giving you an update on the first survey. She has since left the department, so I will be doing this from now on with Claire Stewart, will be helping me out. So as we said, there is a second survey out, and I believe you all received it from Laura, and we've been trying to get the word out as much as we can. I do know that we have more results already, even though it was just dropped on October 20th. We have more than we did during the month of May last time. So just quickly, the purpose of this second survey is to identify travel patterns, congestion issues, and community interest in some new transportation opportunities. It was built on the results from the first survey last spring. You'll recall that we had that survey going for a month during the month of May. This one has 12 questions with 3 optional mapping questions. So just a quick review of survey 1. Again, it was May 2021, and our purpose was to find out how citizens travel related to their location and type of travel. So we had a more diverse type of questions for that rather than just congestion and roads. We got 200 responses. The majority of the residents were from Westminster and Eldersburg. And the majority also traveled within the county to get to work or school, which isn't really that usual for Carroll County. A lot of people do leave the county to get to work, but for our respondents, that's what was represented. So driving was the highest chosen mode of travel with just about all the respondents, 198 out of 200, and 118 votes were for everyday frequent respondents. So we did ask respondents to rank 7 corridors in order of utilization. Again, not surprisingly, Route 140, Route 97, Route 32, and Route 27. And these travel patterns were consistent with our 2020 County Corridor Study findings. So what we found, the biggest concern was from respondents was related to travel time reliability and reduction of traffic congestion, with 32.5 participants choosing this as their top concern. The next highest selected concern was minimizing impacts to natural resources and reducing wildlife collisions, with 20% of people responding that way. So when we put together the second survey, we built on these results and included interactive mapping options that would allow participants to show us to highlight their areas of concern. I'm going to just go quickly through it without really taking it. The first 2 questions just want to know if you live in Carroll County and if you work or commute through Carroll County. The next few questions just want to know where you start your trip. And again, there's a map that guides you toward that. What time you start, where you end your trip, what time do you arrive at your destination? And then the question of, do you typically experience congestion or intersections with long wait times on your way to your destination? And this is the map that people are able to use. It's really the only way with the type of mapping that we were doing that people could actually show us, where they're beginning and ending. For instance, if you're coming from Frederick County and you're coming on Maryland 26th, you would identify Taylorsville. It's about as close as we could come to people getting specific with us, but I think it's working pretty well. So the next question is, do you typically experience congestion at intersections with long wait times? And that is a yes or no question. And then what we're kind of excited about with the survey, and we hope to use it again for other things, is this map where you can choose 5 areas of congestion and pinpoint them for us. So we will have very accurate results. And I'll admit we've had a few glitchy things happen with this, but in general, we're getting positive feedback on this. So do you think there's a location along your route that needs traffic calming? And also, we're just curious, has COVID changed your commuting patterns? And we do have some information from the Baltimore Metropolitan Council where they're doing studies on that. So that we'll use some of that in comparing it. So this last section is really just, we were just curious what people know, what they're interested in, and we gave some of the newer transportation opportunities. We had to define a few of them because they're so new, but we wanted to know if people were interested in some of these things of the future. And then how likely first of all, if they knew what they were, and then how likely they are to use them. And again, we're interested in those results because it is a futuristic plan. So then you submit your results. We will compile them, probably bring them back to you in December or early January. It goes through, again, December 1st. You can take it, for everybody watching out there, you can take it on the county website, homepage, planning under Transportation Master Plan. You could scan this QR code. You could come to our county office building and take it. We have a kiosk, or you could take it through Facebook, which I think is how a lot of people are taking it. So please share with the community members. Hopefully people are watching this. We'd like to get a lot of results. Are there any questions?
I guess my question would be, how have we made the public aware that this is going on? And are we confident that that's gotten out there in a way that we think it should?
I think we are confident. Again, we have more results already, and it's only been out for 12 days. But specifically, it's been on Facebook. I know a lot of people follow us on Facebook. We've sent it out to the FDCA, the Finksburg group, all the towns. We've communicated with all of our towns about it. There was a press release on it. I'm not sure if it made the paper, but I have seen it on different Facebook. Different people have picked it up on Facebook and are sharing it with other people. Linda, is there anything else? It's about as much as
I think
we...
you covered it. I mean, and our press release has a wide, casts a wide net. Also, when we do a press release, it also goes out through a Gov delivery. So anyone that subscribes to Carroll County gets that. So I think what it did, we have over almost 300 people so far that have taken the survey, the second one.
It's more than 200, but again, it's only been out for 12 days. We still have most of the month. And we'll give reminders and things. And no other questions? Okay, we'll take the survey.
Yeah, please do. We would love to hear from you all. It's anonymous.
Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to item 9, our water and sewer fall amendment, the introduction.
Good evening. And if I'm able to share my screen now, that'd be great. All right. This is the introduction to our 2021 fall amendment cycle. We do this twice a year due to just how our amendments work. So mainly, let me start it from the beginning, make it a little bit easier. There we go. Come on. Let me just switch screen real quick. Let me reshare. Try that again. Sorry about that. Just try sharing the screen again. There we go. So, lottery amendment plan. This is again the biannual amendment. So we do it twice a year, typically in the spring and in the fall, between the triennial update, which is every 3 years. And so, pretty much an amendment can be initiated by an individual property owner, it can be by a system operator or town, or depending on how things are going, county staff, we see that something needs to be changed. So this amendment includes 3 areas: the Freedom Sykesville sewer service area, the Westminster water service area, and then the Manchester water and sewer service area. So first, we'll look at the Freedom sewer service area. Both the map and the table will have an amendment taken care of. So the portion that is highlighted in blue or outlined in blue, encircled, this was a request from the owner to add the property. Right now is in long range to put it into the priority service area, mainly because they're in the process of updating. They need to replace the septic system, and when you did some cost comparison, you realize you might as well go ahead and connect to the sewer service area. And as you can see, he is surrounded by properties that are in the service area, and there's actually an easement already on that he has that goes through this property behind him to tie into the sewer service area, or tie into the existing sewer. So this is just one unit, so it'd be 250 gallons added to the actual demand for the Freedom area. And when we put that in the table showing what the potential demand is the 250 is so minimal, the numbers don't change it at all. And so we get an idea. So here's where it'll be. There's a very light green area, but this is, as you may know, Edwardsburg Exchange, to give you an idea of where this is. And this is the high school up in this area. Now we're going to the Westminster water service area. And this was brought to us by the city on behalf of the property owner, Mr. Dole. And he owns, there's actually one parcel, but it appears to be 2. It's actually one parcel. It's split by this parcel right here. He owns these parcels, and they've been in the priority planning service area for the city of Westminster for as long as I've been here, but it's also according to the letter he sent, roughly 20, 30 years, has been there for a long time. So he has no plans to do any type of development on this property. The city, again, on his behalf, has requested it to be removed completely from the service area. So this actually will remove 7,285 gallons of potential demand from the city of Westminster service area. This property can actually have 31 units potential, and their multiplier is only 235 gallons per unit. That's based on the water allocation policy that went into play back in 2018. Again, this area is right down here. This is the Stonegate community, or a new community that's in place. So this backs up to that. However, again, he has written a letter requesting to be removed, that he has no want at this point in time to actually do any type of developing. So he wants to be out of the service area altogether. Manchester is where we have the most aspect, both water and sewer. The first one is just off of Locust Lane, and is known as the Three Russells LLC. It's the property that's actually shaded or encroached, surrounded by blue, where the property is actually larger, but this portion is in the town limits. They would like to be removed. This portion is actually in the process of beginning the process of going through site plan development for a solar farm. So this portion is looking to come out, and they would like to, again, go from priority to the long range, which does not have a effect on the demands table. That we don't take into account for that aspect. This is the Thomas Tree Farm property on the northern part of the town. And this property is, again, looking to come out. They have applied to go into the county AgPres. So that's one of the reasons they're looking to come out. My understanding is also they are talking with the town to put a portion of the land, along with working with ag preservation. I believe they're working to see if they can do some recharge area for the town itself. This property is zoned both residential and conservation, and has the potential to, we're removing a potential of roughly 101 units of usage. This property, this coincides with the 2018 comprehensive plan that the town adopted. You may be familiar with this. Here is the high school, Manchester Valley High. This is what was known as the Lippy property, which was just annexed in to the town a couple months ago. And this portion down here, I'm not sure if you're able to see my cursor or not, even though it shows it has already been, the lots have been plotted, this is a subdivision that was approved back in the 70s. The developer, Woodhaven Builders, owns both parcels, and they're looking to only put 40 houses total on both parcels. This portion up here is already in the service area. So we would only be adding 32 homes. This one actually can account for 8 homes. It's already within the system. So we would be accounting for 32 homes across this total area. This is another portion that is in the subdivision process right now. It is considered Patriots Overlook is what the name of the subdivision could be, but this is a PV Manchester LLC. And they're looking to, portion of the property, this portion was just annexed into the town. This has a couple of different properties that actually front Park Avenue. These two portions right here are already existing, as well as this portion right here. And this portion was already in the system. So this portion that was just annexed in, we're now bringing that in to the service area for them to actually be able to connect and do their subdivision. So the overall map itself is, here's the Three Russells LLC, the solar farm, the Lippy property, Woodhaven Builders, the Thomas Tree Farm, and then of course the Patriots Overlook. This is the water aspect. The sewer mimics everything except for the Thomas Tree Farm, where they are currently not in the service area at all. They are in the current service area for water, but not for sewer. So again, here is Three Russells LLC coming out of the service area. Again, the Woodhaven properties, bringing these properties into the service area. They were in long range. So they're bringing them in based on their comp plan. And the Patriots Overlook portion of, which was, since it was in the county, was in no plan service, since it was annexed in, is now being brought into place. And looking at the overall map changes, you will see long range. These go to priority. And again, this property is in no plan service. I'm sorry, up here. No plan service. So with the tables, Manchester's tables, they do move when it comes to the water aspect. But luckily, the Thomas Tree Farm, with this amount of water that they could recoup for not having to serve those 101, 107 properties, definitely helped with the demands. So the demands did not fluctuate as much as they would have if that was not a property. The Westminster portion, their demands went down. So in essence, the residential went down, so it's cumulative. So the priority planning numbers would go down again, so that would reflect into future planning. And as you can see, they only have potential of 3.3 total demand versus a capacity of 5.2 million. So they're doing well with the water, and same with Manchester. Sorry. Sewer-wise, again, the numbers for Freedom, the previous number was 2.439 million gallons, and that 250 gallons a day didn't move the needle at all. So that number stays exactly the same. In the Manchester number, they have gone, it went up a little bit, but again, it's not anything dire. They're still in very good shape when it comes to total demand versus their capacity. So what we completed so far, you saw, is the maps, the demand tables, and last week the town of Manchester's Planning Commission certified their part of the amendment consistent with their comprehensive plan. So the next steps is I'll be going in front of the Westminster Planning Commission on the 17th for their Planning Commission to certify. However, the day before, I'll be coming in front of you again for our Planning Commission to certify based on provisional that Westminster will certify theirs the next evening, and then we'll forward it to the Board of County Commissioners and hopefully get it on their agenda either right after Thanksgiving or the first part of December.
We'll have to host a public hearing for this, just as we do. So it'll be 3 times with the commissioners: intro, request for public hearing, and then adoption. Sorry, Price, didn't want to forget.
No, that's totally fine. So that was the quick intro to the amendment cycle. Just so you know, we are actually in the process of the triennial update, which happens every 3 years. So I have met with 3 towns so far, and we have 3 more meetings coming up with 2 more to get on the books. So that process, we're hoping to have close to being done, and by the end of next year, by the end of 2022, December. So pretty much a year from now, we're hoping to, if things work well and all the maps and there's not many big changes. And luckily, when it comes to Westminster and Tawnytown, as you may remember, spring of this year, I get confused, was it this year or was it last year with COVID? They did a revamp totally for their chapters and maps. So there's not much to be done for Westminster and Tawnytown, which besides Freedom are the 2 larger jurisdictions when it comes to water and sewer. So that may actually help us a little bit to shrink that timeline some. So Are there any questions pertaining to the intro before I leave? And of course, I'll bring it back to you in 2 weeks for certification and consistency to our plans.
I do have one question. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask you. The property, the tree farm, Thomas Tree Farm in Manchester, has their ag-pres been approved?
No, it has not. They have just gone into the application process.
Okay,
So
I guess the one concern I have is I thought it was our policy to not approve ag-pres in our designated growth areas.
and that is a very good question, and you are correct. We are in the process of as part of their ag, no, sorry, not ag, as part of their application, the town has stated they'll take them out of their designated growth area because that's part of the town's designated growth area. I will be sending a change, and I've already been talking with the Maryland Department of Planning to have this portion removed from our priority funding area. And then we would have to change, when we update our comp plan, we would have to show that this portion now is not going to be within the growth area. So in essence, you are correct when it comes to that aspect.
Okay.
And
Do they have to then provide kind of one-on-one acreage of another area to increase to account for that loss in our designated growth area? Or is that just up to the town to decide?
That's up to the town, since it's actually part of their growth area. They put this in the growth area at the 2018 comp plan, and then I guess the Thomas Tree Farm decided after the fact, a couple years later, to go into try to go for the ag credit program. So they have to come out. So this was not in the town's growth area prior to the 2018 Manchester Comprehensive Plan.
Okay.
From the 2018 Comprehensive Plan, when they updated it, the town put it within their growth area to expand to this property. Now the Thomas Tree Farm is requested for them to be removed from the growth area so they can go for the ag-pres classification to the county.
Cynthia, I'll say I appreciate you asking that question, because I don't know how ag-pres works and how you apply for it and what our role in that is aside from something like this. And I had the same thought that, here we have these areas that are designated for growth. Why are we bringing them into ag-pres when that basically limits, that growth area's potential in some way? So I think I need a tutorial on how that works, because again, we're going into that to where we're going to be talking about that language, and I would like to better understand that process, how it works with what we do. I don't want to slow down ag-pres. I don't want to get involved in that. I just want to understand exactly what you're asking, how it fits in with the planning process. So I appreciate you asking the question, because I was going to ask somebody on the sidebar.
Thank you, Price. Any other questions for Price? I guess it sounds like we don't have any say about the actual designated growth area. It's up to the town. Okay.
We actually do. Typically, municipal growth areas are currently decided by the municipality and the county. And so, I guess if we wanted to not agree with this change for them, we could, go out and tell them, look, you need to add something else. You can't take that out of the growth area. We could work through the Maryland Department of Planning. There's an arbitration process if two parties don't agree. I would say that's more for expansion of the municipal growth area into the county than a contraction with that. But there certainly is that opportunity But again, this isn't the town's decision necessarily with this particular property, because now the property owner doesn't even want to be a part of the growth area. So it's more driven by that than the town itself.
And in fact, Linda, that's, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, well, our designated growth areas are totally dependent upon public water and sewer. If I'm not mistaken, Manchester owns and operates both the water and sewer system, correct? So that's also another aspect there too.
What I was going to ask, Linda, was at the outset when these designated growth areas were created, was there some sort of acclamation that property owners were asked to provide to say, hey, we're doing this. Do you want to be in or do you want to be out? I mean, did we just draw lines in the sand?
Honestly, it goes back to 1964. That's when we created them. So, I mean, that was a good vision. I mean, we should concentrate growth in areas instead of having sprawl development. You want your development around towns where there's infrastructure. How those individual boundaries were drawn, whether it was a joint venture between the county and the municipalities or the municipalities decided something else. But there's two things. Designated growth area is a Carroll County term. That is not an official term anywhere. Municipal growth area is an official legal Maryland recognized term. And what that is that's the ultimate annexable area for that municipality. That's where they want their corporate limits to be. They have to prescribe that by law to annex. And the reason is that municipalities at one point in time were really annexing a lot of land just to have almost like a land grab that they never had the intent to really serve, or they would hope they would have the infrastructure 30 or 40 years down the future. So this was the compromise between the municipalities and the counties to come to an agreement about you have to show a supply demand test to have your boundary to be a certain size. Not so much the small, it's the big.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Interesting. With that, I guess we're moving on to item number 10, which is general public comment, but it doesn't look like we have any public on the line. And I don't know, before we go in closed session, Linda, if you want me to make my announcement. So I believe this is likely my last meeting on the Carroll County Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission. I have sold my house and I go on closing and next Friday. So I will no longer be a Carroll County resident. I will be moving to Howard County. So to a very different area. So yeah, it's been over 9 years now on the commission.
Wow, that's a bombshell you're dropping on us tonight.
Well, it was a bombshell to me. I did not think my house would sell so quickly, but it basically sold the day I put it up on the market. So
wow,
I've been basically a chicken with my head cut off the past 2 weeks. I am going from a house to an apartment. So wow. I have a huge, you talk about downsize, fire sale at my...
Well, this is really...
Cynthia, yeah, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
No, Pete, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'll say two things. One is I'm going to take a portion of this conversation offline with you at some point and just tell you if you need some help moving boxes and stuff, call me. I've got an SUV. I don't have a truck.
I'm too old to move boxes.
Second to that, y'all don't know this. Cynthia called and offered to have lunch with me when I came onto this, and I really appreciated that because I needed I need help, as y'all know. Therapy at some point is in my future, but Cynthia, you're a great leader, and I've enjoyed following you, and I've learned a few things from you too, and I appreciate all of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say, number one, offer you my personal condolences for moving to Howard County, but beyond that, want to say it's been an absolute thrill and pleasure working with you all these years. I mean, you were an alternate for a while and then became a full member and then vice chair and chair, and that's all been well deserved, and we're all better for it. So I just want to say how much I personally have enjoyed working with you. I've learned a lot. You ask such great questions. The engineering side of you, comes in and asks all these questions I never in a million years would have thought of or even known to ask. So Carroll County is a better place thanks to your leadership. So we're going to miss you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, I echo that, every bit of it. And Jeff, I'm thinking tag you're it.
I won't be here next meeting.
Doesn't matter.
Nose goes, Jeff. Nose goes.
Yes.
That's really better, Jeff. You're not there to review anything. We have to put you in.
Yeah, I am moving right next to the Columbia Mall to a very nice apartment building that I can walk everywhere I need to go.
Good for you.
And ride my bike.
Cynthia, this is Gene. I want to echo essentially everything that everybody said. I just had one little tidbit. I think I came in approximately a year before you did. So I do have some tenure on you, but that's about the only thing I excelled in. But during that 9 or 10 years, it was just such a joy to watch you grow as an individual in the profession that you're in, and see you get your kids off and starting a good life. It was really a pleasure knowing you and being what I consider a friend. Good luck, and Howard County won this battle.
I'd like to say I've been on here very long and haven't really got to meet you, I think, in person yet. So, but I really appreciate what you've done over the years, and you've definitely been a good leader. Thank you.
So, thank you, everybody. Unfortunately, I would not like to have to do this next part we have to do of our meeting, but it is what it is. And so with that, we're going to make 2 motions. Make sure I do this right, Linda, do the thing. I'm going to need a motion to go into a closed meeting. We need to go into a closed meeting for personnel reasons. And then after that, if somebody could please also make a motion to adjourn, we will adjourn the meeting after we are done our closed session. So first off, our first motion.
All right, this is Jeff. I'll take a shot at this. I'll make a motion that we go into closed session for personnel issues.
I'll second that.
Can we just do a voice vote, Jim?
Yeah, I think we just do a voice vote. Jim, what do you think?
No, it has to be roll call.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Mr.
Sorry.
Canali? Mr. Canali?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Mr. Hoff?
Yes.
Ms. Kirkner?
Yes.
Mr. Walters?
Yes.
Mr. Lester?
Yes.
5 are in favor, and the motion carries to move into closed session.
And then the motion to adjourn after our closed meeting, please.
This is Jeff. I'll make a motion that we adjourn after the closed session.
I'll second.
Can that be a voice vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, with that, I am going to go into closed meeting for the Carroll County Planning and Zoning Commission.